Hello everybody, my name is Steve Marchant and this is my woodshop. Today we're going to be talking about basics of sandpaper. Well, I say basics, there's not really much else to know about it. Welcome everybody. If you're new to this channel, I post new woodworking videos every Monday and I do a topics video every Wednesday. Not related to woodworking, just something different every time. This channel is all about the very basics of woodworking. If you want to learn something new, whether it be how to saw a piece of wood, how to use a hand plane, how to use a drill press, mitre saw, table saw, anything like that, I'll be covering it all on this channel. So if you want to see all of that, subscribe to this channel and give it a like. Thank you very much. Right, let's get to it. Okay, so there are loads of different types of sanding paper. You can get all pretty much do the same thing. It's just depending on how they attach to a tool, if they attach to a tool at all, and the shape of the tool you're attaching it to. So first of all, the first kind of attachment is basically none at all. You get a sheet of paper like this, you can cut it down to whatever size you want, and basically all that does is goes on a block like this, wrap it around, and you use that to sand wood. Nice and simple, sheet of sanding paper, and they are so cheap, probably about 50p for a pack of 10 sheets of this stuff. The next kind of sanding paper is the Velcro type, like this. So it's got a nice soft backing, and that attaches to power tools mostly. So, wow. Gonna do some hoovering later. So if you've got a tool like this, it's got a Velcro base on it, and that literally just, well, that's a rubbish one. It just sticks on like that. So, nice and easy, stick on, pull it off when you're done. The next type of backing on sandpaper that you can get is just a stick-on one. It's an adhesive. I don't have those because I don't like them. The adhesive can just wear out and they'll fall off. And what you'll get, instead of a Velcro base like this, you'll have a rubber base and the adhesive just sticks on the bottom of it. Again, nice and simple. I just prefer Velcro because you can take them off as many times as you want and it won't run out of stickiness. Well, theoretically anyway. And then last but not least, you can have the clamp-on type. So this is most common with angle grinders and the rotary sanders. What it will be is just like a flat surface like this. This is a lathe plate. I'll go into this in a later video. But what it will be is your sandpaper will go on the face like that, and there'll be a hole in the middle for a bolt to go through. So there'll be a bolt and a washer inset into the plate so the bolt doesn't affect the sanding, and you just screw it onto the tool like that, and then it will spin with the bolt in. So like I mentioned before, there's a lot of different shapes as well, and this is very basic. It's square ones generally for hand sanding and using the blocks. Then you've got your circles. These come in different sizes. So with this tool, this accepts a 150mm disc. I use 180mm discs because you're guaranteed to cover the whole of the surface, and if you get up to the edge of a board with a corner, then that can fold up and go around as well. It's not going to scratch the edge of your board with the backing pad. And then you get the triangle ones like this, which go on your power sanders, just the vibrating sanders, the ever popular Black & Decker mouse. Then they just stick on like that. I've got the little sword attachment on there so it doesn't fit snugly at the moment. But yeah, triangle ones as well. And you can also get belts, sanding belts, which are these things here. So they fit on a belt sander, which is one of these ones. And you can see the belt goes around there and it spins to give you a very quick, rough sanding. So these are for very powerful, quick sands when you want to get a lot of material off quickly. So it's when you're shaping items, or if it's rough like pallet wood and you just want to get all the crap off really quickly. Sanding paper also comes in different grits. And what the grit is basically the amount of grains of sand, or whatever the materials that it's sanding with, per square inch of material. So say we have this scuffed up one here. This is an 80 grit. I think it goes pretty much down as low as 15, which is a really coarse, really rough paper. This is 80, and as you can hear, it's very rough. This is a used one, I'll get a fresh one. Okay, this is a 50, so even lower. You can see very coarse grain for very rough sanding, just to get really rough material off. Then we've got the 240, so the number on the back there tells you what the grade is. 240, nice and fine. This is most generally used for finishing work. So when you're finishing a piece of wood or working on a piece of wood, you start with the lowest grit. You start with something like an 80 or a 50 to get the general shape and get rid of all the rough spots. Then you'd move up to 120, 240, just to get it smoother and smoother every time. So that's 240, nice and fine. You can even go up as far as 1,200, which is really... I never use it. I think if you're using it for wood turning, say if you're making a plate or a cup or a bowl on the lathe, then you use that to make it really nice and shiny, but other than that, it doesn't really have much use in general woodworking, I don't think. And you can also get wet and dry paper, which is what this is. Yeah, this is 1200. So wet and dry basically means it's got a waterproof back sheet to it, and you can wet the paper and then sand it. All you use wet sanding for really is on paint jobs on cars, really smooth surfaces that you just want to get rid of little marks or little scuffs. Say you've left some scratch marks from dry sanding and you use some fine wet sandpaper to buff out the scratches. So it's not really for sanding, it's just smoothing out painted materials or finished materials, things like that. Oh yeah, coffee time! Why don't you? So now I'll just give you a quick demonstration on this rough piece of oak on how different sandpapers work on it. So as you can see, we've got pen mark for some reason. You've got the really rough table saw cut marks on here as well, a bit discoloration around the edges. So first we're going to clamp it down so it doesn't move around. And we can use a coarse grit on the belt sander to get rid of all these rough spots and everything, tidy it up. Right, let's give it a go. Right, we've got a new piece of sanding paper on, we'll get rid of that. Carry on with it. hopefully you can see that the belt sander has taken care of the discoloration, the saw marks, as you can see here. This is the part I haven't sanded, and it's left you with a flat surface for higher sanding. So the next one I'm going to demonstrate is the disc on a random wallet sander, and this is going to be much gentler and get rid of some of these scratch marks that the belt sander's left. So that's gotten rid of some of the scratch marks, made it a little bit smoother to the touch, and that's again with an 80 grit piece of sandpaper. So if we change that out for a softer one, this is a 120. And we're getting much smoother already. So swap out a 120 for some higher grit. So we'll finish this up with the 240 grit paper. So what you should be left with is a really nice, smooth surface. It's good. So in comparison, you've got the rough material that we started out with here, which is all scratched with the saw blade from where it was machined. You've got the paint marks here. Burn marks from the saw blade again here. It's all rough, it's funny colour. And then you compare it to this side here, which is really nice and smooth. Lovely grain pattern on it. Gotten rid of most of the scratch marks. Absolutely beautiful. Or if you're an absolute glutton for punishment, you can use the sanding block. Which takes forever. Now, as you've just seen, like I mentioned before, you go up in the grits of sandpaper. So you start with a low one to get rid of the rough spots, and then you gradually get higher and higher to get a really nice smooth finish. You never go backwards on grit. If you've just done a 240 grit on here to make it nice and smooth, you never go back to an 80 grit, because then that would just scratch it up even further and you'll have to start again. Unless, of course, you're unhappy with the shape, you're unhappy with the sanding quality you've got, you want to just start from the beginning, that's fine. But as soon as you go back a sanding grit, you have to start again and work your way up to where you were. Okay? Right, I hope you enjoyed this video. Give it a like, thumbs up if you did. Please subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see more content like this for free. I release new woodworking videos every Monday, and I'll see you then for another woodworking video. Bye bye!